Okay, take 3. Hello, this is U140550. How are you guys doing? So, to go on with what I said last time in a video, which was probably a day or two ago, this is another video to explain even more. So, I will try my best, even though I'm a bit tired and I literally had 3 different classes. And since it's summer semester, there's much more work in a short amount of time. And they're about 3 hours long. But anyways, to articulate the best I can, even more tips and more things about college for incoming freshmen. So, some of them are do's and don'ts, of course, just like the first video. This will probably be a few videos. But anyways, so in college, not only will you have times where you will have to talk and raise your hand sometimes, but for the most part, never really, because most of the time you're just going to have to say, hey, professor, but da 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 da. Try and get out of the habit of doing this too much so that they can actually see you, because yes, it is respectful, and yes, it is. You still should keep it. It's part of what you learned in elementary school, middle school, and high school. Don't lose that habit. But what I mean by don't do it too much is in college it's very much different. In high school, middle school, and elementary school, you are taught to do this because it is much easier and much more seeable to know that you're there. But because you're an adult now, you should be mature enough and respectful enough to, after somebody makes a point, you make a point. They make a point, you make a point. The professor makes a point, you talk back and explain your point. And now, I'm not saying talking back as in like being disrespectful, okay? But talking back as in speaking what you need to say. So, if let's say I'm in a class and I'm talking about, let's say, a history class, for instance. By the way, this is a shirt that I'm wearing right now, but I want to warm myself up a little bit, even though I'm used to cold, and also because it just seems weird to be having it on this video. Anyways, because it's a random shirt. Anyways, so going back to what I was saying, you will definitely need to get out of that habit a little bit. But at the same time, understand that some teachers do want it, okay? Your hand up, and some professors don't like that. They want you to be your own person, because when you're in college, it's very different from high school, middle school, and elementary school. In high school, middle school, and elementary school, you were taught to respect the teacher, and of course, you're still going to do that, okay, in college. You're taught to respect, the way that, the class functions. Of course, you still are going to do that. But because you're in college, there's a thing that is very different from elementary school, middle school, and high school. That is very different to college. Is the fact that since you're an adult now, they're not always going to answer that, because they are very, very busy and they've got a lot of different things that they want to talk about. Almost every teacher wants you to individually, as a person, a specific person, just you, as an independent person, to make your point. So if you're going to go and listen to, let's say, like I said, a history class, and they talk about, let's say, the Civil War of so-and-so year, you can say, ba 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 ba, and that person can say da 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 da. While that is happening, he might ask a question saying, what happened during this time? Anybody? Or they'll just say, what happened during this time? Didn't this happen? Didn't that happen? Didn't we talk about this? Etc. So there's different types of cues and ways to be an individual, and to make your point. That point might be something like the Amendment 14 was made for this. The Amendment 13 was made for this. The Amendment 15 was made for this reason. Okay? So that is some of the things that you will definitely need to understand, is that you are an individual person. So you can definitely say what you need to say in a respectful manner. And because you're in college, the reason being that they don't want you to that they don't want to, or they might not answer you because you're raising your hand, is because they want you to be an individual and they want you to be mature. Meaning that you know how to be respectful to the students, to the professor, and to the way that the class is functioning. You don't always need to raise your hand. You can definitely raise it once or twice, and maybe they'll call on you, which is definitely part of how some teachers like to teach. But for the most part, usually somebody will ask something, and then you will answer it. So the best thing you can do, if you still have that tendency to do that in college, best thing to always do, just go like this and that. Not too quick, but more like, and then put your hand down. They'll know that you have a question or an answer to speak. Okay? All right. The next thing to understand too is, once you are in college, this is for incoming students, is depending if it's a university or a college or a university or a community college, whatever type of higher education school it is, you're going to have to learn how to find your buildings, because sometimes your professors and your student body is not always going to tell you, go to building this, second floor, room 31. They're not usually going to tell you that. Most schools are going to tell you, not most schools, most people are just going to tell you, I think it's this way, or I think it's that way, depending if they know where they're going. This is the reason why they have orientation for colleges. So when you go to college, there's a thing called orientation. And during this orientation, whether it's online or on campus, depending on your school, they will basically tell you about the school, tell you about a lot of the historical stuff about the school, and tell you how you would be able to get to your classes, telling you where your cafeteria is if you have a cafeteria, telling you where your cooking center is if you are living in a dorm and need to cook something for yourself. They will also show you where the vending machines are sometimes. They will also show you where your bookstore is, because most of the time you might not be able to get it on Amazon for a good price, so then you have to resort to getting it at the bookstore, which also helps the school. But sometimes you want to save more money. Sometimes Amazon is right there for it. So you will definitely need to know where to go. They will show you every single place and number and area that you might be taking a class in. So for instance, my school, I have different numbers, different places I have to be. For this semester, I have buildings that are near me, that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now, at first you're like, okay, these are building numbers, right? But then this is where it gets confusing, okay? So usually you will get a number. I will show you a general example. I'm not going to show you, of course, my own schedule for personal reasons. But if I go to my own one of my old schedules, oh wait, this is actually pretty good. Okay, so what it will show is, it will show something like this. I'm going to make a quick draft of what it would kind of look like. So your schedule will look something like this. If I can look at it real quickly. I've got human biology, or bio. I've got a history class. Different history classes will have different numbers. This one is Hist 240. Yeah, Hist 240, which is history. And then another one called Hist 202. Different schools have different numbers, different ways to understand what class you're taking, meaning they have a different curriculum for each school or each district, which then that curriculum will be transferred over to your next school if it is community college. If it's a university, same thing. Once you graduate and you want to go to a new school or you want to go to that school again for your graduate degree or graduate degree for your master's or for your PhD, you will you'll have certain things, and certain programs and certain areas that you would need to go, okay, and different classes to get done. And each one has a different number, like I said again. So let's see here. I've already got my classes. Okay. Then what it's going to show is it's going to show your course number. Okay. This also goes within a CRN, or what most people would call a school and or class code. So it's a code for you to register for your class. Then you'll have something that has a thing called credits. So depending on your class, you might get something like 3 credits, 4 credits, 5 credits, etc. What I have this semester is about 9 credits. So it'll probably be 3, 3, and 3, dot 0, 0, 0, 0, and 0, 0 for each class. 3.00, if you're wondering. Along with that, it'll have your date. So the date that you start, not the date. The date you start. So my classes started on the 12th. So today is May, June, so June 12th. So that would be 6, 12, 17, right? For each one. Actually, no, one was 613, but nonetheless, 612, 613, and 612. So those are your start times for your classes. That's when your classes start. Then after you have that, you are going to have your college. Depending on the college, depends on where it's going to be. So let me just do this really, really quickly. Type this. Oops. I just made an error there. Great. Oops. All right. There we go. 6, 12. I should have probably set this up earlier so I can just show you what it would kind of look like. But then again, I totally forgot. I should have probably shown it to you. Anywho, 6-12, 17. I need to fix one. I actually said 12. That's actually 13. Okay. This is actually part of a schedule I have. Then you're going to have something with abbreviations for the school. So I'm just going to type some random letters, and this is going to be our pretend school, okay? It'll always have something like this. Okay? Now we've got our school name. After the school name, it's going to show your building. In this case, I'm going to use random building numbers. There we go. Okay, good. Now I'm going to add this number over here. This is just a good example, by the way, guys. It doesn't have to be exact. And then, let's see here. Okay, so after that, you will also have not only your room number, but the day that you start. And the time that you start. So I'm just gonna, for time's sake, I'm just gonna put this at random times. Let's say 10 a.m. Sometimes they'll have it in military time, sometimes they'll have it in 12-hour time. So that's 10. Let's say this is 11. Sometimes they'll have AM, PM, etc. for each one. Okay. Along with that, they will also have the days that you are going. This is what most places will show, which is the days that you will be going. So I'm going to pretend, or I'm going to somewhat copy, similar to a schedule that I kind of have. And this one is going to be dang bug. Okay, will be something like this, along with usually something that says last day to drop or get a refund. So last day to get a refund for your class that you probably will drop with a W, or without a W, to get refunded some types of the money. During a summer semester, it depends, but let's just go by 6. What's this say? Apparently that says 6/13. Ooh. So that means literally a few days after. 6/13. Dang it, why does it have to do that? 6/13. And then this one will be randomly called 6/18. Okay? So, you've got your 3 classes, and it will look something somewhat like this. Okay? Can you see it? Okay, good. So, according to the schedule I just made, if this were a schedule from one of the colleges, as an example, and this is actually somewhat true of my classes, but I am of course not saying exactly when they are, when they start, and saying, the exact name of the school and all that jazz. But let's just pretend that this is the real one, okay? This is an example. So according to this, I have human bio, okay? That is 3 units. It starts at 6/12/17. That's the day it starts. The school, I decided to make a random abbreviation just to pretend as an example, is QWE. So that might be a type of college or a university. Okay, it'll show your college name. So that's QWE. And apparently, according to this, what I typed is building 4, first floor, room 98. Now, you guys are probably wondering what the heck. Well, when you go to your orientation, it'll show you how their school system works and how to find your classes. This is similar to my school, but of course I randomly put random numbers. So how would you be able to read that? It literally goes and says 4198. You're like, okay. Usually there's an extra 4 sometimes within the numbers. I just made it a little bit easier for people to see or to kind of notice. Well, what you can do is, okay, if it's building 4, I already went to orientation, I passed the exam or a little questionnaire. You have to get at least 70%, usually, depending on the school, 75%, 70% to pass in order to even be accepted and or start your classes. So once you do that, then you'll have the numbers like I just said a moment ago. So first number will be building 4, because it says 4198. Usually sometimes they'll have the 4 within the 198, but it's still the same understanding. So 4 means building 4, because that's the first building, right, that it gives me. Then it tells me room 198. But really what it's trying to say is building 4. The first number after building 4 might mean might mean floor 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, or whatever number it is. I know I am counting off. Please forgive me. Whatever number it might be, okay? And then, after you find your floor, so this says first floor, room 98. Now you're going to have to find out where it is. Usually there's a little icon or map that shows where to go, if you need to go downstairs or upstairs, and what direction is your class number. Usually they'll have that as a guide. And then it'll have the time of the actual class. This one says 10 a.m. from Tuesday and Thursday. 10 a.m. on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Usually it'll also have an ending time. Let's pretend that this ends at 11, right on the dot. Okay? Well, that means I have to go straight to my next class, which is the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday class. MTWTH class. This class says I need to go to my History 240 class on all days, and apparently it says Building 17, second floor, room 88, at 11 a.m. Good. Now for the History class. It says the same days that it starts. 2 of them say 6:12, another one says 6:13. This is when the class usually starts in general, depending on when it starts. And then it gives me another room number. Building 1, QWE is the school. Building 1, floor 1, room 11. At 6 p.m. and it's a Tuesday and Thursday class. At the end of it, it'll show you 6:13, 6:13, and 6:18, as explained on here. That is the last day to drop or to get a partial refund. When you don't like the class, or you don't like the professor, or it's not working out for you, or you're just not doing well in the class and you want to make sure that you don't get a W, or that you get a W and you don't fail the class, and hope that you can get get a refunded amount of money back. Of course, you're not going to get the full refund, but you'll get a good amount. Okay? So that is kind of a general way to understand of how to get to your classes. Because unless there's somebody that's nice enough to explain to you where to go to your classes, because in college sometimes everybody's so busy they don't have time to explain, or they explain it, but you might get confused. So it's best to always try and learn where your classes are. Maybe after the orientation, if you're taking classes, in a few months or next semester, maybe what you should do is take your schedule, almost similar to the same schedule you would get in high school, middle school, and elementary school, specifically high school, but still, and it would have its room number and everything else. Walk around the campus, find out where that building is, find out where the second floor is, find out where the first floor is, find out where the third floor is, find out where the 8th floor is, etc. Find out where that floor is, and then find the number of the class, which is usually sometimes the last 2 digits. So room 98, room 88, and room 11. And then also, at the same time, while you're there, try and remember what time did you set it at, because you are now responsible for your own time. This is also the reason why it's called higher education, because you have to pay for your classes, and this is on your own time. That's one of the other reasons why I said earlier is that sometimes, you wonder why they might not stop you, or they might, not say much. It's because you are an adult. It is your responsibility to stay in the class. It is your responsibility to work hard in class. If you don't want to do it, then your grade will suffer. But the reason being they don't really, they don't babysit you or tell you, can you tell me when you're coming back or whatever, is because they have other things that they need to do. They need to teach the class. They need to do what they have to explain. And because you're paying for these classes and because you want to be in these classes, you will abide by not only the rules of the class, but also abide by understanding that you're an adult. You are mature. You should be mature. And that it is your responsibility to stay in the class, and it's your responsibility to do well in the class. There's of course pros and cons depending on a professor that might not do well with you, or you might not exactly like. But even if so, it's up to you. You are responsible for your classes and what you need to do. Okay? Okay, so along with that is a general understanding of explaining classes. What is it called? Since it is your responsibility and you're an adult and you are supposed to be very much mature, that is why you have to pay for the classes, because you need to know where you're going and make sure that you're able to make it. And because you can choose when you have your classes, this also will help you when you want to maybe work and go to school. Work and go to school at the same time. This is the reason why you can rearrange it, because now you're an adult, you have a job, you have other things to do. If it doesn't work with your schedule, then find another way to work it with your schedule if you're going to have a job, or if you're going to volunteer, or if you're going to do this, or you're going to do that. Or maybe you want to take a break. Maybe you don't have any job to go to or anything like that. You're just here to get your college credits and get your classes done. Good. If you have something you're passionate about and you want to get, the credits you need to transfer, good. But in order to do that, you are going to need to get to your classes, and you're going to need to schedule it in a way that will help you. Because if you don't have, work or this and that, then you'll have more time to get your studies done and to do other things if you have time. And thus, what I'm saying is, with that, you can set it up in a way where you'll have a good amount of time to study before the next class. For instance, if I started at 10 a.m., I better wake up much earlier to get to the campus, or to walk all the way to my class if I have a dorm. Then from there, I start at 10 p.m., I go to my next class at 11. After 11, I have a 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. If you're wondering, I'm using military time. So I've got about 7 hours to kill. What I mean by that is I've got 7 hours to relax, do some homework, maybe enjoy the college, see what events are happening at the college. But for the most part, most of the time, a lot of us are studying because that's what we need to get done. We need to get our work done. So you've got 7 hours to kill. You can do a lot of that by getting your work done. Whatever homework, whatever thing your professor decides to give you as homework, you can now have some time to actually get it done in a orderly fashion. Also, a big thing to explain is that when you are doing essays and doing this and that, when you go to college, it's very different than what you probably have done in elementary school, middle school, and high school. No, no more of those 1 to 2 page essays, depending on the professor and other things, and IB and all the other stuff. But you're not going to get those 1 to 2 page essays or 3-page essays. You might get an essay that's maybe 5, 6, 7, 8, maybe 9 pages long, trying to explain your point, explain your argument, and for you to retell your thesis. So if your thesis says something like, I believe, or I feel, or I think, or we have come to the conclusion that this has happened, or your thesis is something like, I feel gun rights are this, or I feel we need gun rights, or whatever. That would be your thesis, and then near the end, you would have your conclusion. I believe we need these gun rights because of blank and blank and blank and blank, etc. That's just a random example of an essay, and knowing that you're going to be able to add more to your essay. Yes, you're going to have a lot of pages just for one or a few essays. Also, you're going to have to learn how to cite your sources, because we don't want to get anything that we get out of an essay. And notice that, oh wait, you may have plagiarized, you may have done this, you may have done that. They are very critical in college when it comes to plagiarism and cheating. So be very careful when you come to college and do that. Also, it is best to always be working and always studying as much as you can, and then at the same time also taking breaks when you need to, and of course enjoying school in a way where you'll still be able to study and you'll still be able to retain all the information that you learned from your professor and able to do well in the exam. Because some of the exams sometimes are memorization, some of the exams aren't memorization, but maybe it's an opinion. But if you've already read, then you can make that opinion valid, or you can make it disinvalid. Not disavowed, unvalid. My bad. Etc. So do manage your time wisely. Also, depending if you're living at home or you're living on the dorm, depending on where you're getting your money from, if you're not going to work, you probably have some type of program that helps you facilitate a good amount of money for your books, your schooling, and your money that you can use to help you with your classes and with your food that you might be eating. Well, that's good because you're going to need it. Because there will be times where you will get hungry and you will need it to concentrate. Take the time you need. Also, you should know how to cook by the time you go to your dorm, because nobody's going to cook anything for you if you're really, really hungry and you can't go to the cafeteria or the cafe or whatever is open. Then at least you know how to cook something. Even something simple as macaroni, cheese, or even just boiling some orzo pasta, putting a little bit of butter, some salt and pepper, and mixing it around, and there's your dinner. It's not the best, but sometimes if that's all you got and that's all you can make, then great. Anyways, I've got more I can talk about and more I can say about this topic, but I feel like I've went a very, very, very long video today. So this is U140550 signing out, and I will explain even more in part 3. I know this is very, very long, but I wanted to add more information than I did on the previous video. Alright, arrivederci, ciao, have a good day. And to incoming freshmen, I hope that this information is useful to you. Bye!